And I'm now delighted to be joined by independent TD for Dublin Bay North, Barry Heneghan. Barry, you're very welcome to the Irish political roundup. Barry, you were elected
Yeah,
for first time back in November.
yeah.
How's the last couple of months been as an independent TD here in the new Dáil?
Listen, it's been a very good experience. I really hit the ground running. I always said I wanted to get as much done for Dublin Bay North as possible, and that's what I'm here to do. I'm supporting the government as an independent. That obviously comes with a bit of baggage with people online. But at the end of the day, I got elected to deliver. I got elected to get what I said I was going to do done, and I'm now in the best position to do that.
Yeah, and it's been a whirlwind couple of months. Right? You were elected to Dublin City Council last June, and you were elected to the Dáil there back in November. What got you interested in politics? Because you're one of the youngest TDs here in the Dáil.
Yeah, I suppose what got me involved is I was frustrated, and I just saw other people running, and they never actually did what they said they were going to do. And I said, right, rather than complain, I'm going to put my name up on a poster. And I did. I ran a very quick 3-week campaign, heavy on social media, really blitzed the doors. And I was well known as well because I'd worked in the community. I was a swim teacher, a barman, a delivery driver. So people knew who I was. All those free prawn crackers got me the votes. But now what I say is, I was very lucky in that sense. Also, I got the backing of Damien O'Farrell, a former independent councillor, and Finney McGrath, former independent TD and Minister for Disabilities. So they really instilled in me how and what and how to win a campaign. So from that, I went forward, and we ended up getting the highest vote of any independent in Dublin City Council.
Wow.
And in that election, and then just kept going. Then then when I was on the council, I really enjoyed it, and I said, right, general election could be coming up, so I ended up running up. Watch out, there's someone there.
Sorry, folks. Okay.
So yeah, that was it.
Yeah, exactly. And Dublin Bay North, there were a lot of retirements and big personalities leaving, so it's a whole new landscape there in Dublin.
I was very lucky,
Dublin Bay North as
listen,
well.
I was very lucky that there was three TDs stepping down, and they were obviously titans in the area. They were there for 4 or 5 plus elections, so I was very lucky there was an opening. And listen, I put out my literature, I put out my social media, I was on RTE, on the radio, and people in Dublin Bay North elected me. So at the end of the day, I'm here for them. I'm also here for the national stuff, but my priority will and always has been Dublin Bay North.
Absolutely. And in the programme for government, is there what things in it are you keen to see implemented?
Private wires.
Yes, because I saw that recently. You were talking about private wires in the Dáil not so long ago.
Private wires. Now, like when you hear private wires, people are like, "What are they? What are they?"
Yeah, good question.
Listen, when you look at other countries, Denmark, UK, this was done years ago. And what it does is it removes the monopoly that ESB has on our energy grid. At the moment, if you're building a solar farm or anything renewable, you have to go to ESB to link you to the grid, which is adding a big queue. And there's gigawatts waiting in our energy grid that are waiting for connection. Also, with private wires legislation, it'll remove the onus for ESB to get to the sites, and it will speed up our grid development. For example, when data centers are building their own on-site energy, they can create a direct link to the data center, reducing energy costs, reducing the burden, and increasing our sustainability goals. So yeah,
absolutely. And I suppose it's also important for housing because electricity is so important for the infrastructure that's needed to support housing. So this would be a measure that would help as well with the delivery of housing.
100%. And I did a recent video on this, especially with apartment builds. If it'll ease up apartment builds to develop their solar panels on the roof. It'll also, with housing, if you have a solar farm and you have a local housing estate, you can directly link electricity to that and supply maybe cheaper electricity to the people. But generally, I think it'll be used for business parks, and it'll just with our energy system at the moment, it's the amount of people using the grid increases the price. So if we can take off, which 20% of our electricity currently is being used by data centers, if we can remove them from our grid, then we're going to see a drop in energy costs, which would be brilliant for the Irish people, for our sustainability goals, which we need to reach these targets. So yeah, I think it's something simple. I'm actually working on a bill at the moment for it, and I hopefully can get the support of the government for it as well.
Absolutely, sounds really interesting. And of course, you're part of the regional independence group who are supporting the government. There has been a lot of commentary on the whole issue around speaking rights, but
Yeah.
I'm sure you're glad that it's resolved now, because that was holding up the formation of committees, for example. But
I think it is resolved, and I think it's very important to say that we're not reducing any time to the opposition. We're adding time for myself and other people who are supporting the government to be able to speak. People elected me to be able to say what I was elected to do inside there, and it's very important we as a parliament evolve to allow future governments to be supported by independent politicians, and them not to lose their speaking rights.
absolutely, because a lot of people don't realise, if you don't have speaking rights in the Dáil, you are really working with one hand tied behind your back.
It is difficult, yeah. It's also like with my team. I have my PA, Michael Reynolds. Michael's been with me since day one, and like it is, as you said, the last few months, it's. I wish there was a crash course on all these speaking times. Like there's leaders' questions, there's QPLAs, there's topical issues. There are other ways to get your voice heard, not just in the chamber for that specific time. So yeah, we're in there today. I'll be speaking today, and I'm just going to be continuously talking about what I'm really annoyed about, which is the lack of funding for Ferris na Gaeilge. So that needs to be acknowledged. So I mean, again, I've got to the shin. I'm just trying to go with the Chun na Gaeilge shin. So shin out.
All right, Anama. Of course, you're a fluent Irish speaker, and
I wouldn't say fluent. I'm all right.
You're a lot better than me anyway. that would be hard.
I'm not even fluent in English.
And you also spoke about AI. It's a big revolution that's taking place now. It has its pros. It has its pros. It has its cons. But in order to, for Ireland to benefit from AI, we're going to have to maybe change our policy around data centres.
Well, exactly, and that links into the private wire legislation. Last 2 weeks ago, the CRU brought out a report which I was not very delighted to see. At the end of the day, if we don't put a strict guideline on data centres to create on-site renewable energy, because if they were to be allowed to use gas or diesel generators, they're going to be off the grid, but they're not going to be. It's going to be greenwashing tactics. So we need to make a strict enforcement to remove the embargo on data centers who use on-site renewable energy, or commit to another solar farm in another area if they can't do it there, to add to our grid rather than leach. At the moment, they're just leaching, and it's ridiculous that they've been getting away with this long. Private wires, put in the legislation, bring in the experts. There's really, I just qualified for my master's degree in sustainable energy systems at DCU. As again I said, we need to listen to people on the ground.
Yes.
We need to listen to people we need to listen to what the experts in data centers are saying.
Yeah.
Politicians need to listen to experts in the field rather than just going on their own little hiatus and running on their own.
Exactly, and what would you say? That's your politics, just getting in on the ground and listen to people.
Yeah, exactly. Listen to the people. Listen, I got voted in by the people. I need to work for the people. I need to listen to the people. I'm going in here to work on my desk, and then I'm going back out to my constituency later and knocking on doors. Right. I'll always knock on doors. Keep knocking on doors, because if you're doing something wrong, the public will tell you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Barry, thanks a million for taking the time to chat with us here on the Irish Political Roundup, and we wish you every successful future.
Go Margaret.